we're in this really odd well, I move around a lot. I've been in a lot of different countries with a lot of different kinds of people. So I'm really sensitive and very tuned in to cultures that allow people to just fly off the wall for a little while and then come back into themselves. I got a very dear friend of mine the other day. She was saying, I'm like this, I'm a puff of fish, and then I come back down, just like, poof, I blow up, and then I got to come back down, and then I'm out again. Whoosh, right? So that kind of mechanism. Now, where she's from, it's really normal. And people don't blink. They don't have this sense of like, oh my God, we're under attack. There's someone's expressing a strange outburst of emotion and using inappropriate language. Everyone's like, yeah, whatever. We know her, it's fine. It's like, let her go. In a different culture, this is perceived as a threat. It's perceived as a threat to this tranquility that everyone's pretending exists. There's not tranquil. It's just that no one wants to burst the illusion of tranquility by having these really difficult conversations. So you get this dark side of tribalism where people are expected to ignore their own abuse in order to maintain group coherency. Sorry, there's little things flying. Which is what he was trying to say to all the boys. That is saying to all the guys in the room. They took my money. I had Jewish agents and a Jewish personal trainer, etc. He's like, they took my money, and the other guys are saying, wait, who's they? Who's they? Instead of allowing him to make generalizations for the sake of getting through a conversation on how he's been suffering abuse at the hands of people that have been abusing him, the tranquility has to be maintained. And it's connected to this gaslighting element because, like, oh my God, I love Israelis. Okay, so I'll cut into another. So my brain's going in two different spots. Okay.
Remember what Gay was saying right before he left was my brain's going in about 7 different ways. Yeah. I just thought of all these things. It's like that. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, if that is like a microcosm of false tranquility, China shop, full of porcelain, China, not China the country, where everyone's freaking out because there's a bull in the China shop, which is a saying that my grandmother used to say all the time. You're like a bull in a China shop. She didn't say that to me though, but it was just something the family said. Okay, so this China shop culture, and then you've got, on the other hand, all the dudes that were at raves. Back in my raver days, we get tons of Israelis, heaps of Israelis over there, dodging the draft. They'd come over for the summer, and they just party, and then they bugger off back home. And oh my God, intense, so intense. I love them, but they don't care. They will say what they think. They're like Dutch. South Africans, very similar kind of vibe. You're dealing with frontier culture people. They don't have time for bullshit, and they will just tell you what they think immediately, and they don't care who they're offending. There is something very relaxing about being around a group of Israeli people who are just letting it fly and having a good time in that context, compared to like being around people that are in a China shop environment where you can't say the wrong thing, and it's like there's an artificial tranquility about it. So I was thinking of the contrast between the two situations, because we've got like we've got to address this gaslighting effect on the culture, and that people themselves are too they're too unwilling to allow someone the opportunity to like weave their own narrative of the abuse that's happened to them for the sake of healing, and letting them get through that process by saying, this was the perspective of my, you know, this is my history perspective. I'm going to create my own monument now. Then after I've created the monument for what's happened to me, we can all debate my monument. But right now I'm creating a monument, and this is what's happened. I ranted.
So
this is
as
a really
you're
hard topic.
No, I know. So as you're talking to me, well, because we're trying to dodge both the Enlightenment and the Holocaust. Okay. And I
well, they're both monument destruction on huge scale, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the fruit of the Enlightenment is the French Revolution, which is a horrific, self-implosion of the French. It's like talk about that they, and on the basis of reason. And the Holocaust, World War II, is this unthinkable event for modernity. And both of them are grounded in claims that the West makes about its own goodness. This is horrific trauma that we can't, this is, as we've been talking, I was thinking, it's like, I think of this as a historian, I think of this as a medievalist who finds the Middle Ages to make infinite sense and modernity to be completely nuts. And what I have learned over...
Could you summarize why?
Oh, yes. What I've learned over the past, over our summer of talking through all of these problems in our arc, but also in the struggles that I've had for decades trying to understand modern history when I teach it in European civilization. And I think through this gaslighting and the COVID and thinking about what's happening with Ye and Nick, starting to be able to unpack it. One, the Enlightenment is the greatest gaslighting of human history in certain ways. Certainly of the West, right? And there's that meme that's the crack pipe, which says works cited the Enlightenment, and it's the pipe is labeled the Enlightenment. So the Enlightenment is primarily a psyop of its own naming, right? That there's this moment in which the world is now lit with reason, and that we are fundamentally able to create societies that are grounded in equality and democracy and constitutional government and formal human designed structures. And we've been crazy ever since. And the Holocaust, was a subset of World War I, World War II, is, when we teach it in modern history, it's like it's the fulfillment of that. It's the fulfillment of the structuring of the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution and the British Empire and everything. It comes down. It comes when I teach it in Eurociv, when we end up at Primo Levi and Auschwitz. It is the sort of fulfillment of this horrible rationality, right? And certainly
complete mechanization of the human person,
right? And even to the degree to which things like there's going to be a final solution. Oh, great, right? It's like it's the opposite of the utopian perfection. We're going to solve this for good. Spoiler alert: fallen world, no solution on those terms, right? It's not. It's like the communism is going to solve the problem of inequality permanently if we can just make it work perfectly, and that we are going to be able to not just mechanize but rationally figure all of this out and fix it, and the Enlightenment, that is the sort of shining hope of the Enlightenment claim that it's possible to
conquer human nature with rationality.
Yes, but that's not quite the way I was thinking to say it.
Okay.
Um, it's that rationality is the primary feature of our human nature,
Ah, yes. Yes.
right? And
So okay, yeah. The assumption is then that man is a rational creature and not an irrational creature.
or that
But also that
I think I
the
may.
rationality is damaged somehow.
Well, okay, so the usual, this is somewhat caricatured, but let's see if we can get it to make sense by now. That you
Okay.
know, straight up saying our reason, which is what Tim Pool and the conversation is supposed to appeal to. Let's just talk
Mm-hmm.
rationally about all of this. You, yay, are responding out of your emotion and your dislike of these things that a few people did to you. But if you can rationally see that these things are not happening, that the dissociation is to say our reason is somehow not fallen. Interesting claim. Whereas our emotions
Mm-hmm.
are the things that we can't trust, and so we have to restrain them, right? The 19th century flips over and starts saying, oh, well, we need, the emotional proof of the existence of God. So, you end up with, by the time Freud's writing about it, saying, well, I've never had that emotional experience, and therefore God's a lie too. That one way or another, we've made it in modernity impossible to either understand our emotional knowledge, and I'd say that's what gaslighting ultimately is an abuse of. It's your own sense of the reality of what you're feeling. And
Mm.
the stronger gaslighters, like, they're not only destroying your memory and your sense of cause and effect, they're going to try to destroy your own sense of how you actually feel, right? I'm going to tell you your
Mm.
feelings are wrong, and feelings are actually
Yeah.
also significant clues to a situation that you're in, right? If you feel uncomfortable in a situation, you're probably noticing something that maybe you can't articulate rationally yet in words, but
Mm.
is still some real information, right? But conversely, claiming that we can think our way through everything is to claim that our reason is not also part of our fallen nature. Our reason is fallen as well. It's imperfect. It's
Mm.
clouded. It's not an absolutely reliable test of everything. And so to claim with people like Tim Pool that we should just rationally talk about all of this, no, then you're discounting our
The
gut
emotion.
experience as well. So, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like we have this, thanks to the Enlightenment and the dissociation of our soul from our our mind and our
Mm.
heart. We're these shattered um, beings,